scriptural Christian and the scriptural Jew, in today's lexicon, in today's political vocabulary, the word al-Yahud and the Nasara here, if we were to fine-tune it to today's world, would mean Zionists and imperialists. So the ayah is saying, in fact, for us today, now these words can change with the onset of centuries and the progression of time. There may be another concept 1,000 years from now to describe the political character of Jews and the political character of Christians, which may not necessarily be the same terms that are used today, Zionists and imperialists. But in as far as capturing the meaning of the moment, that ayah is telling committed Muslims not to become the political inferiors of the Zionists of today and the imperialists of today. And I would think anyone with a free spirit, whether you're Muslim or not, would not want to be the subject or the slave of today's Zionists and imperialists.
Thank you. This question, I will paraphrase it a little bit, says that surely Muslims have played a role in the current negative impression or the bad image of Islam. When people who don't look deep enough into events look at Muslims fighting Muslims, Muslims killing Muslims, and they're saying, well, surely this plays a certain role in the dehumanizing of Muslims, because the non-Muslim looks and says, oh, two Muslims doing this, must be all Muslims. And so, what does that not have an effect on the image of Muslims and Islam?
Well, you know, that's a very good question. Let me say as a preface that Muslims have a lot of issues to come to grips with. We have a very complex and complicated context that we are in. We do have our differences. We are just emerging from times of ignorance and backwardness. And the conditions of the past definitely have their impact on the present and to a certain extent on the future. So, yes, we have our own internal problems. And I'm not trying to dismiss that. But when you come and look at, especially when you come and look at acts of war, and you're careful when you look at these acts of war. We do have warfare in Muslim countries in this world. But most of the times you can trace these initiations of war to those who have not germinated in the Islamic condition. They're more or less outsiders to the Islamic condition, and they get their orders and their cues from the superiors that they have. I mean, there's a nexus of interests, basically imperialist interests and Zionist interests, that run the political show in Muslim countries. So when war erupts, most of the times it is by instigation via the clients of these interests in Muslim lands. And so you have, let's say, a Persian Gulf War break out. Who launches this war? Who declares this war? Who prosecutes this or persecutes, carries this war to its bitter end? Who does all of that? It's not the Muslims who are the populations of these countries that are moving into warfare with each other. It is the imposed political will from outside that channels these populations into confrontations with each other. This is almost the unidentified dimension in the explanation of the eruptions of battles and wars in one place or the other in Muslim territories and in Muslim regions of the world. So, looking at both these elements, the internal problems that we have, which are not that significant, but then the externally imposed circumstances and conditions that we suffer from, and this is the significant part. This is the area that generates the tension and the bloodshed within the Muslim populations of the world. So more or less it's a type of imposed war on us that we have to respond to in one way or the other, and which we are prone to respond to adequately in the future, more accurately than was the case in the past.
Thank you. This question, you know, about this Islamophobia Awareness Week that was conducted. There's a question from what I would presume somebody with the Muslim Student Association that says, and I'm again going to paraphrase it, it says, what could or should MSAs have done to oppose this, and what can we do to prevent similar events from happening in the future? Can we prevent them? Do we need to counter them? Do we need, what is it, what can we do with them?
Well, if the MSAs, the Muslim Student Associations, they have enough independence, it's very simple. Speakers come to campus that are participating in a program to defame Islam. It is only fair, and I think all universities should be open to accommodating either on that platform other speakers, or if that platform does not tolerate other speakers, to have a follow-up program immediately in the heat of that Islamic or Islamofascism or Islamophobic week, awareness week, to have a follow-up program that gives the other side of the story. And not wait for months and years to pass and say, you know, look, let's have our own program. I think that would have been more effective, but once again, the bottom line in all of this is whether Muslim student associations have enough independence and have enough confidence to have a parallel program within that program or alongside of it.
Yes, I misspoke. I said Islamophobia awareness. It's really Islamofascism awareness. Islam was something. They always attach something to make it bad for us. The latest one that I'm seeing is they've gone beyond Islamophobia, Islamofascism. Now they're saying, no, Islamofascism is wrong. It's really Islamo-Nazism. And I'm thinking, wow, let's ratchet it up a little bit more if you can. Somebody, a Muslim presumably here says, could you explain to our non-Muslim audience why Muslims revere the Quran to such a high degree, and why do they believe on its authenticity as compared with other scriptures?
Well, there's a simple answer to that, and that is that the Quran, the last revealed scripture from God, has been preserved exactly the way it was revealed the moment it was revealed. It was committed to writing and to man's memory and heart from that time up until present. Muslims view previous scriptures, namely the Torah and the Injil, or the Old Testament and the New Testament, to have been original, authentic revelations from God to Moses and to Jesus within the time period or the lifetime of both Moses and Jesus. May God's blessings be upon them all. But then after they left this world, Scripture itself was subjected to the misunderstandings, the misinterpretation, and then the inaccurate quotations of what that original Scripture was. So what we winded up with was not the scripture that God revealed in the cases of the Old and New Testament. But in the